Okay.
Jump in. It's 1 minute till.
So it says not supported. Nice.
Because of the it's because of the community thing.
Okay.
How about I hit the admit all button? You want to share the graphic for today?
There we go. May file when ready.
Look at that. People just pop right in here.
It's amazing how that works. All right. And I think I heard your machine is recording, Tim. Is that correct?
I look like I'm recording. Although last week, did I tell you this, Joel? I didn't record for like the first 10 minutes. So we had to do like a pickup piece, Jason and I. So
oh, really?
There's a special recording from last week that everyone should enjoy. They missed it.
Well, it sounds like you should have taken the advice you're going to give this week and taken it last week on how to make a better decision on how to record.
Right. Maybe a checklist would have been the system I need in place.
Well, welcome, folks, co-conspirators, fellow Rev thinkers, etc., dropping in. It is top of the hour. We'll get started in just a minute. I'm Joel. This is Tim here. We're kind of close to each other, Tim, for a minute. We're only one time zone apart. So
yeah, it's amazing, right? It's been a while since we've been similar in the same continent, I think.
Well, see everybody today. Okay, Tim, I'm gonna.
What is your picture in front of my picture on these graphics? Who's making these graphics? Is that you or?
I think yeah, it's our team. I don't know. Talk to them.
Is it alphabetical order or something?
You're always looking over my shoulder. That's
that's exactly right. Oh, that's
all
great.
Right. Okay, well, I'll get us started. How about it? Welcome, everybody. I am Joel. This is my colleague, Tim Thompson. We are consultants, among other things, but other people just call us Rev thinkers, which means we exist to help creative business owners thrive in business, life, and career. This is the weekly briefing, which is another way of saying every week we stop, we take 30 minutes, and we say, what's going on in the industry? What's the hot topic? What's the thing that people are buzzing about? And Tim, there's a lot going on in the community, by the way. So for those of you that are not a member of the community, our community called RevCommunity has about 500. We just crossed over 500 owners. And gosh, Tim, we could talk about just the hot topics that are going on in there, but that will be maybe for next week, because the one topic that we are getting into today is how do we make decisions? So what's the impetus behind this topic?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been asked to teach some YouTubers. Google has hired me through one of our clients to teach some YouTubers, what it takes to get their content machine up and running and to make some powerful decisions when it comes to making that content. It's a very streamlined business. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And if you're a first-time business owner or a small business owner, you don't always know all of those decisions. Or I like to say, we forget the decisions we're supposed to make. We just absorb someone else's practice thinking, well, okay, if it works for them, it works for me, I'm going to work with it.
Okay.
But really, as a business owner, we have to have an understanding of where the decisions come from, how we oversee those decisions and roll those decisions out. So that part was, okay, let's tackle that with this YouTube group. But then in RevCommunity, there's been a lot of conversations about operations, finance operations, sales operations, production operations. And I've been thinking, well, there's a crossover here. If you're dealing with any of the 7 ingredients, you kind of have to build this decision ladder inside that ingredient for different areas of the business you have to execute. If I'm going to produce a project, there's a series of decisions we make to get that project out the door. Or if I'm going to pay certain invoices this week, what's the process look like that I know which invoices to send out and which ones I should hold back? So putting all that down into a decision ladder, that's how the topic came about.
Well, you're reminding me, when we did the producer masterclass, we ran that twice last year. And I remember what was so interesting was, as we sort of stood back and said, okay, how do we help producers make decisions, we had to actually ask this question, well, how do you make any decision? Like, what does it mean to make a decision? And then we had to answer the question, is there a methodology to making decisions? And it's sort of, I don't know, it's so weird because we're always in the middle, we're down in the weeds of making decisions. And we say, yeah, we just look at all the available information and we need to take action. And therefore we look at the information, we decide, and we move forward. But there actually is a method that, of course, applies to how producers produce jobs. And then, of course, that same method applies to every other ingredient, like sales, like finance, like production, et cetera.
Yeah, and if you don't have a method, I mean, what business owner doesn't have this problem, right? If you don't have a method, the method is the person walks into your office and asks you a question to make a decision right at that moment. And you don't have any insight of what they're talking about. There's no anything to analyze or to process with them. So your guessing is not really deciding. That's just guessing, or what did we do last time, and going along with tradition.
Or let's say this is also super common, right? Because I bet a lot of owners here, they know this. They're like, why can't my team like just run it? Why can't they do it? Why do I always have to be involved? Why do all of these decisions get kicked up to me? And so if you think about it, it's like, well, as you often say, Tim, it's not just giving your team the responsibility to make decisions, but the authority. Well, what would it take? What would it take for you to be able to give your team that authority? That's the dream called, hey, I'm going to build a self-managing creative company that runs great. And I play this, very narrow role in this company because I love whatever, creative directing, but I don't have to make all these other decisions. These things don't get kicked up to me.
And what employee doesn't want to get the boss off their back and micromanage them? If you don't have a decision-making process for things, you impulsively think of something, you're afraid you're going to forget to ask the question. So then you start calling people out of sorts, catching them off guard, interrupting their process, or you micromanage them. I don't have a process in place to get understanding of where you are. I don't have any visibility. You're not sharing insights with me. So I have to go ask you and ask you and ask you. The invitation wasn't really clear of when, how, and in what way you wanted the information delivered to you. It all breaks down. And the decision part of it really, again, is very reactionary. It's very impulsive. And it honestly breaks down the fibers of the business.
Well, I'm gonna give everyone a moonshot here, and Tim, you can sort of tell us how we actually put this in place. Because I remember a season when I was running my studio, and my coach said, Joel, you don't actually realize that you being in the office and around, you're meddling. Like you think you're trying to help, but I bet you anything, if you told your team, I'm going to be gone this week, I'm going to be gone this month, they would quietly behind your back be like, yay, we finally get to get all this stuff done. So how could we actually make that a reality for business owners here that think, oh no, I could never do that because, right, my team doesn't know how to make decisions?
Yeah, so let's share the graphic. I'll share what the decision ladder is, and people can wrap their heads around how they're already doing this. Is one thing. Once you have insight, most likely you already have some of this in place. You didn't realize the protocol, or by laying it out, you can realize where your protocol might be falling apart, right? Okay. So the decision ladder starts with this. It starts with a system. So an easy example of a system that we all very commonly use is something like QuickBooks. QuickBooks has no intelligence. It just captures data. It has some programming and some understanding to make things easy to execute. And it has some logic behind it, so it's easier to input information and out. So it's a good system. But in and of itself, it doesn't give you analytics or understanding or decision making. It just simply captures the information. And like QuickBooks, when it's a good system, the result of the system is the next thing, it's visibility. So all good systems give you a good report out of it. Hey, this is a finance system. It'd be good if it gave me a profit and loss. Wow, I can read that profit and loss. I understand that profit and loss. This is really great. Something like a production budget is also a system, right? As production budget, I can put data into it. But when you add actuals, budget and actuals, now you don't just get the first set of protocols that you put into your decision making, but you also get visibility. How does my budget compare to the actual project? So good systems are in place, give you the opportunity for visibility. Visibility, when you have visibility, now you get this aha moments I call insights. Oh, that's why the project's over budget. Oh, that's why that person's mad at me. Oh, that client's available. That client's calling us. That client wants to work with us. That system visibility and insights gives us those aha moments. It's something, the reason like we like Pipedrive. Pipedrive is a really good system. It's easy to read, so easy to read. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's so obvious what the opportunities are. I get immediate insight looking at my Pipedrive record of leads that are coming in, and therefore actions I can take. So insights that I get gives me the next step, which is direction. Now that I know that, I have that epiphany, now I know what to do with it. I know where to go with it. And I can choose to send that lead to my creative director. I can send that project or budget to my production team. I can send and start determining direction. And the result of that direction is the decision. So now, if I want to make a decision in my company, how do I get there? Well, I'm looking for the ability to give people direction. How will I know what direction is right? Well, because I have accurate and good insights that come from visible reporting from really good working systems. And it works its way up to let's get good systems in place, or systems and routines. Routines are that moment where insights actually show up, right? I have a really good system. We have a regular production meeting. Wow, what's the production meeting for? To share insights. My producers share with me how the project's going. I can share with them what I think is happening creatively. Once I have those insights, we can agree what we're going to do with it. Direction, boom, decision made. I can walk away, and I've given and delegated the authority to the people that deserve it.
Yeah, I'm wondering, one thing I noticed about business owners, and this for some reason is especially true with creative business owners, is they're super freaking smart. They're really, really good at doing all of this in their head, and they do it intuitively. They develop this ability over years of practice, trial, error, all that. And in a way, it becomes their early success. Like, wow, Tim just makes great decisions and makes them fast. And wow, so just when you need an answer, go to Tim. And the business starts to thrive. And then you fast forward a few years and you're suddenly doing a few $1 million and it all starts to break.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we get this out of the owner's head and into a container, a system, a process?
Yeah, I think the first step again is like, if you can recognize where you're already doing this, you recognize the success of it. You can imagine like you already probably have this in place in production. It just wasn't defined in your head. Therefore, it wasn't defined what made your production pipeline successful instead of your finance pipeline. But your finance pipeline needs the same decision ladder your production pipeline does to get the same results. And you're right, Joel. What scale does speeds up the decision-making process. It's not like they're different decisions. They just come at you at a faster pace. So the greater scale my company is, the more I have to have these systems in place that I can make decisions more frequently. Therefore, more routine, better insights, greater visibility, better working systems. And a lot of the stuff we talk about, like technology follows technique, the basis behind that principle is this. Hey, don't go buy someone else's system that works for them. Then you're basically making decisions the way that business makes decisions, and it might not match you or your culture or really the product you're making. You have to find and build and put in systems in place for yourself that your company gets what it needs to out of the business. And that's where I think people forget to make decisions. Oh, Joel's company is doing this. I should just do what Joel's company is doing. I didn't make that decision then of the systems, routines, and therefore the final decisions I'm going to make, all I decided was to be like Joel.
Well, I get excited how, when we first started observing this method and applying it in the producer masterclass, and then we said this pattern actually applies to every other ingredient. And it's funny how like some owners I'm working with right now on sales It's it's the exact same method right here.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the decision method. And it's sales. And it's like once you start to, you just see this simple pattern, you realize, oh, okay, I could actually apply this to every ingredient. What would it look like to apply this to marketing? What would it look like to apply this to creative? I mean, there's all kinds of opportunity, I think, that comes, and I just get excited about that. I think it's very cool.
Yeah, you're right. Like as businesses mature, we actually move operations from the person into a process, right? So, for example, we might say, well, our financial operations is Joe. Joe's our financial operations. Joe does the financial operations. I named it Joe because that's the person's name that does it, right? But in reality, to master the finance ingredient, it's really putting these systems and routines into place so that the result of the finance team that will eventually grow with when your business grows gets you the results that you need so you can make those decisions. And operations is one of those sticky points that we have to really mature into it, because at first it is just me or me and a few people. So we're doing operations as multiple hats that we wear. But how are you going to function and what you're going to do to get your company to function in the future, self-managed as a creative firm, is the ability to put these systems, routines into place and then own them. And I should say, we say mastery, but what we don't mean by mastery is you should do all 7 ingredients. What we're saying is mastery is putting these systems and routines in place that they can be self-managed, that there can be a team, our operations team, a sales team, a finance team, a production team, a creative team that knows what they're supposed to output so that you can be the entrepreneur, the executive team, looking through and matching the actions of your company to the vision results that you wanted to help your company grow and thrive.
When you were talking about that principle that we call how, not who, right? Meaning, oh, I've got a need in my business, right? Go find the person. I was just thinking how much in sales, how common is it? It's like, oh, let's go get that salesperson, right? Like, oh, Suzanne is an amazing salesperson that will solve that problem. But that's obviously not a method. That's a person. And we find that that's that path towards abdication, not delegation. But if you can, as an owner, master enough of the sales ingredient that you actually understand this method here, right? What is the system that you need? How is it going to create visibility, insights, direction, and decision? Then you really have something that you can delegate, let other people run, and they're probably going to own that as their genius and do it at a much higher level than you. Whatever your genius is versus whatever theirs is.
Yeah, that's perfect. Sales is the one where you're exactly right. The first way we want to solve sales is find the right person to do it. But Joel, how many times have we gone into places where there's a salesperson that was super successful in one place, but just can't convert here, or vice versa? Someone that can't never been able to convert, but when they find the right creative partner, man, they're on fire together. Yeah. What's happening and why is that dynamic? We want to call it chemistry. Well, it's chemistry. Well, then how does it work when there are 6 people in the sales department? Is it 6 times the chemistry? No, a growing company, a thriving company actually realizes that there's trust, principles, and practices in place. And I think that the first part of where people thrive is the level at which you trust me. Well, where on this decision ladder does trust come in? So I have to at least give you clear insights. You have to trust my system. You have to be able to read my reports. So I'm not going to walk into a meeting with you, Joel, and ask you to make a decision without giving some kind of visibility so that you can share the insight with me. So my first level of trust is when you and I are sharing the insight and we agree on the insight, or we agree to be challenged by it. Let's go through the process and pick it apart until we find the right solution. But then the direction part is when we would say, this is the next action. And then you as a business owner might let go. And then you continue to trust me that I can act on that. I can follow through with the decision that we made. So that ability right there is the conversion of not just delegation, which is always a sense of clarity, but also growth and maturity for your business and for yourself, for that department. And maturity can, everywhere. Careers need to be matured through this process, And we want people to grow and thrive in this time and in this career.
I'm just sitting here wondering, and by the way, we're happy to field questions or comments or something. So feel free to drop, as always, thoughts or questions into the chat here, and I'll try and pick them up and throw them at Tim, or we'll invite you into the conversation. So I mean, Tim, I look at this and it's so conceptual. Like, if I'm really honest, I think, yeah, cool. I get the concept, but where do I even start?
Where to start? Yeah.
Yeah, like which ingredient do I pick first?
Yeah, sure. So when people call us, one of the first places we often go in and work with them when it comes to this decision ladder is their production team, right? Because more likely than not, they have a lot of the systems already in place. They're just not synchronized. They have a working budget that someone makes a copy and makes a copy and makes a copy, and you hope the rates don't change and blah, 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 blah. And then the problem they want to tell us is, they keep making copies of the wrong template. The human behavior is broken. And then what we say is, no, that's not the issue. The issue is that your system in and of itself is primary and good, but you haven't figured out the routine attached to it, the human behavior attached to it. So we often start with the production ingredient, and we put in place a roll-up. And a roll-up is what's required to do the budget, what's required to do the actuals, the time of that, which we often say on a weekly basis, update your budget and actuals. And then the information from your budget and actuals roll up to a very clear, readable report. And that report becomes an agenda for a production meeting. From that production report on a project by project basis, now this is the routine where we're gaining insights. I can go through it on a line by line basis and share how we're doing on the project creatively, how we're doing on the project financially, and how we're doing the project with relationships with the client. So now in that meeting, we are sharing insights. And often people just think we're putting a production meeting in place, which really is all we're doing. But the purpose and the agenda of that production meeting is what's important.
I just thought it would be fun to get very practical, okay? Because when we talk about visibility, I mean, here it is. It's not glamorous. It's a spreadsheet. But what we know is seeing a list of all the jobs. Again, there's a system that generates this. This is the visibility. And we know we have the visibility here to glean insights. Because when I go through this with the owner and the producers, oh yeah, there's all kinds of insights of we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. What's happening there? That doesn't look accurate. Like, this is really where some of the magic happens. And it's not, I don't know, it's not fancy, but it's powerful.
And this starts to synchronize with maybe the next place we might work with a client, which is the finance team. Hey, we know you're using QuickBooks, but what reports do you generate on a regular basis? Are you just showing a P&L and balance sheet once a month? And can anyone really make a decision on data from the past in a structure of a P&L? That doesn't make any sense. So when we restructure information into a factors report, and we're able to see where the money should be spent and is going to be spent, we can transfer that direct cost allocation for a project into the production system. So now my finance team is now talking to the production team and guiding the production team and giving the production team the results of their decisions. And then vice versa, the production team can tell us what they have going on in their system and in their process and in their meeting. And it converts back to the finance team to send out an invoice or send out an invoice to a client when we should expect receivables, when we should expect to send out payables for the vendors, and so on. The two systems start working together in tandem because all of them are in sync in the same idea of systems, insights, and the decisions along the way. You can then add sales to that process. As you know, sales keeping, that piles up. Every one of these creative has input, it piles up. And now your whole big 7-ingredient machine can work together because these decision trees and operations inside of each ingredient starts talking to each other and sharing with each other.
I always get really grumpy when I think about the difference it would have made had, 20 years ago, I had just put in that simple, again, system visibility insights around cash flow, right? I was always getting that monthly P&L and doing that whole I guess I'm looking in the rearview mirror and going I guess we should have avoided that pothole.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the future, if I could see one coming at me, I guess I'll avoid it, but I'm not I have no visibility. It's like I had a opaque windshield in front of me. It was like, well,
to your credit, Joel, I only invented this 16 years ago. So 20 years ago, I could help you. But where you were a pain in the butt client is that you had 8 or 9, 10 years of doing it one way, maybe even 15 years of doing it one way. And then for me to convince you to do something else is the old dog, new trick thing. And not that you were a pain in the butt. I'm just saying that, you know, that we all kind of get into our trenches of how we do it. And here, listen to a new way of doing it is often kind of difficult, which is why we like to teach the entrepreneur up, right? Hey, let's let RevThink talk to you and teach you how to think differently and recognize what your opportunities are, no matter how long you've been in business, 3 days or 30 years. If you're not doing this, let's just put it in place. You probably already have a lot of this in place. We just need to synchronize them for you.
Yeah, I just wired up a roll up 2 days ago with an owner. So we started on this. Okay, we need to look at our factors. So we're creating a projections for the years ahead, for the year ahead, figured out our splits. Now we have our direct allocations. So the producers are working with those real dollars, creating a thing called a budget. Now they're actualizing. We have a few active jobs going, and we said, all right, now let's wire up and create a roll up so that every week we can see that top level. And it was just this moment when we connected everything and all the data flowed in, and we said, that's it. That's actually all I need to run my production ingredient at this company. All that other stuff is, of course, there, and it's important, and the producers are handling it. But now that owner is like, okay, in 20 minutes every week, I can basically run all these jobs and make all these key decisions with the producers. I was like, that's what I've been talking about. This is what we've been aiming for. You know, it took a few months to put all these pieces in place, but now that it's here, this is nice.
Wait till you get the cash flow in place, and then they can see the conversion of that money into a timeline, and their future opens up, and they say, oh, all of these decisions, this million decisions I get to make with the $1 million I get in revenue, oh, there's new opportunity for me to grow, expand, to save. It's truly, everyone should know why I'm addicted to my job. It is absolutely amazing to give people, you know, goggles, the glasses they can finally see the road in front of them with. You know, it's really awesome.
I'm trying to remember, was it Jason or remember
it was Jason, I think. Yeah,
Jason at Cause and Effect, who said, I feel like I've had cataract surgery.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. I wish I'd had cataract surgery, Tim, but well, that's all right. It's okay.
It's all good.
So, well, let's see. We've got about 3 minutes left. I'm just gonna. There's not any questions I'm seeing popping up right now. But do you have a what's your advice for, like, where should somebody start? I mean, it goes without saying that if they're not plugged into our community, jump in there, because we definitely have some free resources and sheets and things that we're just like, hey, here it is. We'll make you a copy. You can start putting some of these pieces in place, particularly in production or in finance. But what else would you say?
Yeah, of course, jump into community, and we're going to soon have a membership level of community where we can give a lot of these tools, give you access to a lot of these tools, and you can download them and use them and watch these videos and so on. But what I want you to do is just do an audit. Like, go to a place where you know you're frustrated in your business, production, finance, sales. Just choose one and ask yourself the question, are my systems giving me that visibility? Am I actually getting a report? Do I understand the report I've been given? The one I always make fun of is the balance sheet. Why does my bookkeeper keep giving me a balance sheet on a monthly basis? What does this even say, right? What decision am I supposed to make from that? So if you don't understand the report you've been given, what report do you need in order to finally make decisions? So what report do I need that will give me that insight, that aha moment of the thing I'm looking for? And therefore, what routine do I need to put in place so I can generate that report on a regular basis and gain those insights and keep my company on track or move it forward? Then I want to figure out, this is important, who's going to make the decision with me? I tell people, please don't include everybody, because there's a difference between knowledge and opinion. And you don't need a whole bunch of opinions of what needs to be done to make the decision. You can use the conversation to give you some knowledge and some balance to your decision making. But when it comes to the final decision, it should not be a company-wide vote. Keep it exclusive. Know who's going to make the right decisions for you, who's going to be your strategic partner in executing those decisions. And then Be generous, roll it out with grace, give people clarity. If you don't have a delegation tool, find one, download one, hire a business coach to teach you how to delegate these systems back out to your group so that you can all be successful. This is not trying to find the scapegoat in the system. It's trying to find the right people you can give the authority to so they can help you manage your business.
Yeah, that's a good reminder about the difference between opinion and knowledge. Because yeah, it can be what? But what's the word I'm looking for? Tempting, right? To invite all opinions, but what you really are seeking is knowledge. So
yeah,
that's a good.
I think people confuse openness and transparency with everyone's included in everything. And it's not only not healthy, I don't think people appreciate that. Wait, you don't have the vision? I have to give it to you? I'm the employee. How do I get my paycheck if you don't know where we're going, right? So there's a security knowing that the people in charge of the business know where the business is going to go. And therefore, I have clarity on what position and job and role I play in that success. I'll work really, really hard within those parameters.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, Tim, thank you for sharing the method today. I hope everyone got something out of this. I know it's very conceptual. As a friendly reminder, feel free to start a topic about this in the community, in the general discussion. Also be on the lookout soon, as we're going to hopefully in the next few weeks announce this membership inside the community. We'll be definitely offering a whole bunch more resources and other tools, which we're very excited about. So that's all I got, Tim.
Thank you very much, Joel. Thanks everyone for being here. We appreciate you, and we do exist so you thrive in business, life, and career. So let us know anything we can do to help you, and tell others that this is a great place to meet up.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week. See you next week.